Ramana, prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. We begin today the Satsangh with a prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh, followed by Muktakatrayam chanted by Nandakumarji.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमां रमणाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय. Namo Ramana to everyone.
Ekam aksharam advinirantaram bhasate swayam likhyate katham. Hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram brahmam sakshat atmarupena bhati. Hridhi vishamanasa swam Chinvata Uchata Pavana Chalana Rodha Atmanishto Bhavatum Devam Brahmayavat Jadatmakam Aham Bhuttirnatasyastyaku Maham Tattva Bhavachukti Samayi Siddhatma Sadbhava Bhavayuta Kuto Varadhiya Drishtatmanishtatmana Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shivaha Purvam Vibhati Swayam Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Arunachal Shiva Om Vibhavati Swayam.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with chanting of Upadesha Saram verses 1 to 10 by Savitri Krishnan and Jai Shri Ramakrishna.
कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलम् कर्म किं परं कर्म तज्जडम् कृतिमहोदधौ पतनकारणम् फलमशाश्वतम् गतिनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितम् निश्चया कृतम् चित्तशोधकम् मुक्तिसाधकम् कायवाङ्मना कार्यमुत्तमम् पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् जगत ईषधी युक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिभृत् देवपूजनम् उत्तमस्तवा दुच्चमन्दतः चित्तजं जपा ध्यानमुत्तमम् आज्यधारया स्रोतसा समम् सरलचिन्तनम् विरलतः परम् भेदभावनात् सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिदा पावनीमता भावशून्यसत् भावसुस्थितिः भावनाबलात् भक्तिरुत्तमा हृत्स्थले मनः स्वस्थता क्रिया भक्तियोगबोधाश्च निश्चितम्. ओम नमो भगवते श्री
Namo Ramana. We continue with songs from Ramananjali music. The first one by Radha and Vallabh, followed by an offering from Pratibha Sundaresh, and the third one by Revathi.
Namo Ramana to all. Today we have selected a song. The lyrics is by Sri Sudhananda Bharati and the music is by Sri L. Krishnan. It is in the Ragam Suddha Danyasi, Setvadi Talam. அருமையும் நீயே பெருமையும் நீயே அருமையும் நீயே பெருமையும் நீயே உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா அருமையும் நீயே பெருமையும் நீயே அருமையும் நீயே பெருமையும் நீயே உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா ஓடும் உயிரின் ஓட்டத்துள்ளே ஓடும் உயிரின் ஓட்டத்துள்ளே பொறுமையும் நீயே பன்மையும் நீயே பொறுமையும் நீயே பன்மையும் நீயே ஓடும் உயிரின் ஓட்டத்துள்ளே ஓடும் உயிரின் ஓட்டத்துள்ளே பொறுமையும் நீயே பன்மையும் நீயே ஒருமையும் நீயே பன்மையும் நீயே அருமையும் நீயே பெருமையும் நீயே உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா பெண்ணிற் பெண்ணும் நீயே ஆணில் ஆணும் நீயே பெண்ணிற் பெண்ணும் நீயே ஆணில் ஆணும் நீயே மண்ணிற் காணும் மகிமைக்குள்ளே மண்ணிற் காணும் மகிமைக்குள்ளே மங்களமே ரமணானி மங்களமே ரமணானி மண்ணிற்காணும் மகிமைக்குள்ளே மண்ணிற்காணும் மகிமைக்குள்ளே மங்களமே ரமணானி மங்களமே ரமணானி அருமையும் நீயே பெருமையும் நீயே உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா சீரும் புகழும் நீயே செல்வத் திருவும் நீயே சீரும் புகழும் நீயே செல்வத் திருவும் நீயே கருதுவதும் உணருவதும் கருதுவதும் உணருவதும் பூரண ரமணானி பூரண ரமணானி கருதுவதும் உணருவதும் கருதுவதும் உணருவதும் பூரண ரமணானி பூரண ரமணானி அருமையும் நீயே பெருமையும் நீயே உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா அருமையும் நீயே பெருமையும் நீயே உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா உயிருக்குயிர் நீயே ரமணா
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. This is a composition of Sri Muruganar singing the glory of Arunachala and Bhagwan Ramana. I'll be singing a Telugu translation of this song. गिरिकीर्तिं सोमो गुरुकीर्तिं सोमो ज्ञानदातमन प्रभुकीर्तिं सोमो गिरिकीर्तिं सोमो गुरुकीर्तिं सोमो ज्ञानदातमन प्रभुकीर्तिं सोमो जनन मरण भय रोग निवारिणि दिव्यौषधमणिमधिकीर्तिं सोमो जनन मरण भय रोग निवारिणि दिव्यौषधमणिमधिकीर्तिं सोमो गिरिकीर्तिं सोमो गुरुकीर्तिं सोमो ज्ञानदातमन प्रभुकीर्तिं सोमो जनन मरण भय रोग निवारिणि दिव्यौषधमणिमधिकीर्तिं सोमो వెంకటరమణుని పొగడుము పొగడుము భక్తి కొలువు అరుణాచల రమణుని తల్లిదండ్రులను తగ కొనియాడుము జ్ఞాన రూపున వరతము తలచుము వెంకటరమణుని పొగడుము పొగడుము భక్తి కొలువు అరుణాచల రమణుని తల్లిదండ్రులను తగ కొనియాడుము జ్ఞాన రూపున వరతము తలచుము గిరికీర్తిం సోము గురుకీర్తిం సోము జ్ఞానదాతమన ప్రభుకీర్తిం సోము జనన మరణ భయ రోగ నివారిణి దివ్యౌషధమణిమధికీర్తిం సోము శ్వాసమును తించు దేహము స్తుతించు వినిమించు వేదాంతమును తించు వెంకటరమణుని పొగడుము పొగడుము భక్తి కొలువు అరుణాచల రమణుని శ్వాసమును తించు దేహము స్తుతించు వినిమించు వేదాంతమును తించు వెంకటరమణుని పొగడుము పొగడుము భక్తి కొలువు అరుణాచల రమణుని గిరికీర్తిం సోము గురుకీర్తిం సోము జ్ఞానదాతమన ప్రభుకీర్తిం సోము జనన మరణ భయ రోగ నివారిణి దివ్యౌషధమణిమధికీర్తిం సోము పదముల కొలువుము శిరమును కొలుమును అతీతుడనంతుడాతని కొలువుము భువిని నుతించుము దివిని స్మరించుము దివి భువులేలడు దొరను జపించుము పదముల కొలువుము శిరమును కొలుమును అతీతుడనంతుడాతని కొలువుము భువిని నుతించుము దివిని స్మరించుము దివి భువలేలెడు దొరను జపించుము వెంకటరమణుని పొగడుము పొగడుము భక్తి కొలువు అరుణాచల రమణుని 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 గిరి కీర్తిం సుము గురు కీర్తిం సుము జ్ఞానదాత మన ప్రభు కీర్తిం సుము జనన మరణ భయ రోగ నివారిణి దివ్యౌషధమణి మది కీర్తిం సుము గిరి కీర్తిం సుము గురు కీర్తిం సుము జ్ఞానదాత మన ప్రభు కీర్తిం సుము జనన మరణ భయ రోగ నివారిణి దివ్యౌషధమణి మది కీర్తిం సుము జనన మరణ భయ రోగ నివారిణి దివ్యౌషధమణి మది కీర్తిం సుము దివ్యౌషధమణి మది కీర్తిం సుము. నమో రమణ.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We are meditating on the 24th verse of Saddarshanam. Deho na janati sato na janma deha pramanonya udeti madhye aham kriti granthi vibandha sukshma sharira cheto bhava jivanama. The body is insentient. The self does not rise. Within the body's limit, an I rises between the body and the self. It is named ego, not of matter and spirit, bondage, subtle body and mind. Like the tube light without electricity, the body is lifeless without the self. The consciousness gives life to the body. The ego in between, which is an illusion, creates the Maya. Thus, I am this body, that I am this mind. When we hold on to the self, then the Maya is destroyed. Holding on to the self alone helps us to get out of this bondage, the so-called bondage. I present to you a song written by A.S. Venugopal Rao, music by L. Krishnan and Rajkumar Bharti. ನಾನೆಂಬುದನು ನೀಗಿ ನಲಿಯುವೆನು ದೇಹ ಭಾವನೆಯ ದಹನೆ ಮಾಡುವೆನು ನಾನೆಂಬುದನು ನೀಗಿ ನಲಿಯುವೆನು ದೇಹ ಭಾವನೆಯ ದಹನೆ ಮಾಡುವೆನು ನಾನೆಂಬುದನು ನೀಗಿ ನಲಿಯುವೆನು ರಮಣ ಚರಣವನ್ನು ಪಿಡಿದು ಬದುಕುವೆನು ರಮಣ ಚರಣವನ್ನು ಪಿಡಿದು ಬದುಕುವೆನು ಭವದ ಭೀತಿಯನು ಇನ್ನು ಮರೆಯುವೆನು ನಾನೆಂಬುದನು ನೀಗಿ ನಲಿಯುವೆನು ಮನವೇ ರಚಿಸುತ್ತಿಹ ವಿಷದ ಬಲೆಯನು ರಮಣ ಶಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಡಿದು ಚೆಲ್ಲುವೆನು ಮನವೇ ರಚಿಸುತ್ತಿಹ ವಿಷದ ಬಲೆಯನ್ನು ರಮಣ ಶಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಡಿದು ಚೆಲ್ಲುವೆನು ನಾನೆಂಬುದನು ನೀಗಿ ನಲಿಯುವೆನು ದೇಹ ಭಾವನೆಯ ದಹನೆ ಮಾಡುವೆನು ನಾನೆಂಬುದನು ಎಂಬುದನು ನೀಗಿ ನಲಿಯುವೆನು. ಮನದ ಅಂತ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ರಮಣ ಮೂಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೃದಯ ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಲಯಿಸಿ ಸುಖಿಸುವೆನು. ಮನದ ಅಂತ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ರಮಣ ಮೂಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೃದಯ ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಲಯಿಸಿ ಸುಖಿಸುವೆನು. ಹೃದಯ ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಲಯಿಸಿ ಸುಖಿಸುವೆನು. ಆ ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with the reading and sharing by Sri Nandakumar.
Namo Ramana. There are some ambient sounds of some loudspeaker, so I'll try to do my best. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. In the book reading segment of our satsang this evening, we are blessed to continue the reading of Fresh Discoveries, Western Seekers on Sri Ramana Maharshi, a compilation by our founder president A.R. Natarajanji. We left off where Mercedes de Costa, in the article Here Lies the Heart, she asks Bhagavan an interesting question. She says, I asked, Bhagavan, you say that I am to take up the search for the self by Atma-vichara, asking myself the question, who am I? May I ask you, who are you? When you know the self, the I, you, he and she disappear. When you know the self, the I, you, he and she disappear. They merge together in the pure consciousness. So Bhagavan and all the deities one has worshipped in this arduous path, in the spiritual culmination of merging in the self, all those deities, all those beings are recognized to be one and the same as the pure self. Bhagavan says, when you know the self, I, you, he, she disappear. They merge together in pure consciousness. I understood then that Bhagavan, being egoless, could not speak for himself in terms of I or we. His nearest approach to a direct answer was pure consciousness, which to a discriminating mind did not answer the question which he had asked who you are, though it could not be answered in any other way. Bhagavan, abiding in the egoless state, was awake only to truth and the real self. He was asleep to the world, the appearance of which is false, being born out of and sustained by ignorance. One time, when I thought what I thought were some evil-looking people who had come from the temple, I remarked on them to Bhagavan. One time, what I thought were some evil-looking people had come from the temple, and I remarked on them to Bhagavan. He said, what do you mean by evil? I do not know the difference between what you call good and evil. To me, they are both the same thing, just the opposite sides of the coin. I should have known this. Bhagavan was of course beyond duality. He was beyond love and hatred, beyond good and evil, beyond all pairs of opposites. To write off this experience with Bhagavan, to recapture and record all that he said, or all that his silences implied, is like trying to put the infinite into the egg cup. One small chapter cannot in any way do him justice or give an impression of his enlightenment, and I do not think that I am far enough spiritually advanced, if at all, to try to interpret his supreme knowledge. On me, he had and still has a profound influence. I feel it is presumptuous to say that he changed my life. My life was perhaps not so important as all this, but I definitely saw life differently after I had been in his presence. A presence that just by merely being was sufficient spiritual nourishment for a lifetime. It may have been that when I returned from India, undiscerning people saw very little change in me. But there was a change, a transformation of my entire consciousness. And how could it have been otherwise? I had been in the atmosphere of an egoless, world detached, and completely pure being. Where is this pure being now? It is within each one of us. The Sannidhi of Bhagavan is within each one of us. We have to turn inward and abide in that. I sat in the hall with Bhagavan 3 days and 3 nights. Sometimes he spoke to me, other times he was silent, and I did not interrupt his silence. Often he was in Samadhi. I wanted to stay on there with him, but finally he told me that I should go back to America. Bhagavan said, there will be what will be called a war, but which in reality will be a great world revolution. Each country and every person will be touched by it. You must return to America. Your destiny is not in India at this time. Bhagavan has said to Mercedes D'Acosta, there will be what will be called a war, but which in reality will be a great world revolution. Each country and every person will be touched by it. You must return to America. Your destiny is not in India at this time. Before leaving the ashram, Bhagavan gave me some verses he had selected from Yoga Vasishta. He said they contain the essence for the path of a pure life. The verses are, steady in the state of fullness, which shines when all desires are given up, and peaceful in the state of freedom in life. Steady in these two, act playfully in the world, O Raghava. Steady in the state of fullness which shines when all desires are given up, and peaceful in the state of freedom in life. Act playfully in the world, O Raghava. Inwardly free from all desires, dispassionate and detached, but outwardly active in all directions. Act playfully in the world, O Raghava. Free from egoism, with mind detached as in sleep. Pure like the sky, ever untainted. Act playfully in the world, O Raghava. Conducting yourself nobly, with kindly tenderness, outwardly conforming to conventions, but inwardly renouncing all. Act playfully in the world, O Raghava. Quite unattached at heart, but for all appearance, acting as with attachment. Inwardly cool, but outwardly full of fervor. Act playfully in the world, O Raghava. These are the verses which we read when reading Professor K. Swaminathan sir. That Swaminathan sir remarks there, how can Raghava, Rama, the perfect being, require these teachings as to how to behave in sadhana? That is, inside be completely pure, but outside act as though you are interested in the world. How such instructions are required for such the born jnani of Raghava? Bhagavan listens to this and says, for whom is this doubt? For whom is this doubt that whether these teachings are required for Raghava? Then it is said, it is Professor Swaminathan who is asking this. Then Bhagavan says, then these verses are for him. That beautiful conversation we had seen, the verses we had not seen there, the verses are here. I sorrowfully said farewell to Bhagavan As I was leaving, he said, "You will return here again. I wonder. Since his physical presence has gone, I wonder if I shall. Yet often I feel the pull of Arunachala as though it were drawing me back. I feel the pull of that sacred hill of which he was so much a part, where his mortal body lies buried. Before leaving the ashram, I wrote down several questions for Guy. Guy Haig is her friend who has been in the ashram for over a year. Before leaving the ashram, I wrote down several questions for Guy to ask Bhagavan that I had not had a chance to ask myself. I had been bothered by the fact that so many saints and enlightened people had been ill and suffering physically. I asked, should they not have perfect bodies? And why do they not cure themselves? In Europe, I got a letter from Guy saying that he had discussed my question with Bhagavan. She must have been perhaps referring to Ramanacentre Bengaluru and others who undergo a lot of suffering bodily. Why don't they have a perfect body? Or even if they get an illness, why don't they use this highest medicine? There cannot be any greater medicine than the self. All the medicines, other medicines we see are derived from that. All the miraculous cures we see in all the scriptures take from the power of the self. Having that power of the self, why do they not cure themselves? Is the question of Mercedes de Acosta to Bhagavan. In Europe, I got a letter from Guy saying that he had discussed my question with Bhagavan. He wrote, Bhagavan told me to tell you that the spiritually perfect person need not necessarily have a perfect body. The reason, as he explained, is very simple. You see, the ego, the body, and the mind are the same thing. The spiritually perfect person like Bhagavan is above these three things. Consequently, he has no body to heal, neither a mind or ego to heal it with. I'll read that again. You see, the ego, the body, and the mind are the same thing. The spiritually perfect person like Bhagavan is above these three things. Consequently, he has no body to heal, neither a mind nor ego to heal it with. This is the answer Bhagavan gives to Attayit. When the body is afflicted with the terminal cancer, Bhagavan's sister comes and asks Bhagavan, earlier once when your finger broke on the fall of a huge rock and when Vasudev Shastri started crying, you immediately out of compassion for him, you replaced that broken finger into its socket and said, why are you crying? It's already all right. When you could do that, why don't you look at your cancer and cure yourself for our sake, she asks. And Bhagavan says, you are saying, I am having a body and that body has been afflicted with cancer. But for me to know all these things that which you are saying, where is the mind for me? He says something like that the jnani is least concerned with how this swinging fan of which the plug has been pulled, how it is going to swing and end. He is not bothered, says the letter in effect. He is beyond all this because all this is illusion. He is living in reality. Christian scientists can take the mind and heal the body, for they are the same thing. American Indians heal too in the same manner. It is faith healing. But if the spiritually perfect person is sick in body, it is because the body is working out its karma. Bhagavan gave an illustration of karma, which he says is like an electric fan and must just run its course, only gradually ceasing even after it has been turned off. He says the mind is born into illusion and builds a body and a world to suit it, that is, a world that it has earned and deserves. Bhagavan, knowing the body and the mind to be illusion, cannot identify with any bodily ailment or discomfort. We make him suffer pain. It is our minds, not his. He is bodiless. Actually, though you and I cannot realize this as a fact. In another letter, Guy answered my questions which led to others. He wrote down my questions and Bhagavan's answers. Question: is reincarnation as a fact? Bhagavan: you are incarnated now, aren't you? Then you will be so again. But as the body is illusion, then the illusion will repeat itself and keep on repeating itself until you find the real self. Question: what is death and what is birth? Bhagavan: only the body has death and birth. It is the body, it is the illusion. There is in reality neither birth nor death. Question: how much time may elapse between death and rebirth? Bhagavan: perhaps one is reborn within a year, 3 years, or thousands of years. Who can say? Anyway, what is time? Time does not exist. Why we have no memory of past lives? Bhagavan: memory is a faculty of mind and part of the illusion. Why do you want to remember other lives that are also illusions? If you abide within the self, there is no past or future, and not even the present. Since the self is out of time, it is timeless. I'll repeat that again. Memory is a faculty of the mind and part of the illusion. Why do you want to remember other lives? That those are also illusions. If you abide within the self, there is no past or future, and not even the present. Since the self is out of time, it is timeless. We usually say in Bhakti that there is this bridge between heaven and hell within us. When dropping the regrets of the past and the anxieties of the future, one is constantly repeating in the present the gratitude for God. Oh God, I am so thankful for what all you have given me. Then one is in that bridge between heaven and hell. That is the connecting point in the present. Bhagavan says this bridge too is not required. This bridge of bhakti, where one transcends the regrets of the past and the anxieties of the future by constant holding of the blessings of God, is also not required, because the present is also not present in the self. The self is out of time. It is free from the conditioning called time. It is timeless, says Bhagavan. No change has happened in me is the realization that comes upon abiding in the self. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. To experience this truth, the timeless nature of one's own existence, Bhagavan has given us the sweet path of self-inquiry. Sri Dilip Simha will be conducting today's session of self-inquiry.
Namo Ramana. Dhyayet Sharad Chandra Sundaramukam Tamraravinde Kshanam Bhaktabhishtavarabhayapradakaram Kaupinamatrojvalam Swatmanandarasanubhuti Sarvanavadyangakam Shrimantam Shri Ramaneshwaram Guruvaram Yogasana Dhyasitam Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram श्रीरमणीश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षातात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जतावत् पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. We will commence today's Atma Vichara by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesha. I will be reading from the book Guru Vachaka Kovai from the chapter Meditation on the Truth. The subject today is displaying ignorance. Verse number 598. Those with body consciousness, when they see a perfected Gnani who abides as that, ask in an attempt to define the state of supreme Gnana, look, if their state is non-dual, how can they perform activities such as eating and so on? Such people are in fact proclaiming their identification with the inert body. Often, as sadhakas, we see a fully enlightened person and may inquire, how does he continue to work in this dual state when he is actually holding on to Advaita, when he is non-dual? This is similar to the questioning of Arjuna to Krishna. How does a Gnani behave? And this is similar to the question as Professor Swaminathan asked about Rama. What is very clear in all of that is that we are identified with the body consciousness, and therefore we see the other one also as a body, a form of a body. This we generally miss out, but we hold on to we take it for granted that we are the body, and therefore the question seems to be a lot more logical and right to ask. Therefore, Bhagavan, as usual, says that by holding on to this question, please look into yourself, that you are holding to you yourself being a body, while in reality one is not so. As Bhagavan said, we are the timeless one, the real self, the heart of everything. We forget that we are the heart, the Hridaya, the Atma, the source of everything, and hold on to an idea that we are the body and take it to be real, and then further hold on to all the thoughts which rise because of this body idea. So in order for us to free ourselves from this continuous cycle of thoughts that we endeavor, Bhagavan has given us Atma Vichara. He has asked us to diligently question every thought that rises within us, whether they are good, bad, or ugly, or spiritual, non-spiritual. We don't have to classify what kind of a thought it is, because it has first arisen by considering that we are the body, we are an individual. Therefore, Bhagavan asks us to diligently question every thought, to whom is this? And then when we question that, it becomes clear that it is for me, I. Therefore, the individuality which was taken for granted or which was not envisioned properly becomes available for us to question it. Therefore, Bhagavan asks us to further inquire, who am I then? What do I refer to as I? Or where from this I rises within me? When we try to go to the source of the I, the mind will get back to the source by the grace of the Guru. And by repeatedly getting back to the source, Bhagavan assures that the mind will gain enough strength to remain at the source itself. With the immense grace of Bhagavan, for the next 10 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara. Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. The next sharing in the Satsang is by Sri Venkatesh Deshpandeji. This is on the subject of the Gita Sara, selections from Bhagavad Gita by Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kanschanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasadrasham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmi Kantam Kamalanayanam Yogiradhyanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikanaatham. We're doing Manana on Bhagavad Gita Sara. We're on verse 27 today from chapter 6, verse number 25. I request Sapna to kindly chant the verses, please.
Yes, sir. अथ श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता सारः शनै शनैरुपरमेद् बुद्ध्या धृतिगृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत् शनै शनैरुपरमेद् बुद्ध्या धृतिगृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत्. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. One should bring the mind to stand still gradually with a determined will, thus making the mind inhere in the self. One should not think of anything else. Unless one is able to eliminate all thoughts of the world, including one's own body, it will not be possible to concentrate on the self or remain as the self. This is a very slow process, as the mind, which is only a bundle of thoughts, can be controlled after cultivating dispassion, vairagya, and a lot of practice, abhyasa. It requires a lot of patience and strong willpower in order to overcome an overwhelming sense of frustration. When once all the thoughts die permanently, never to rise up again, the mind is automatically remains established in the self. Why do you wish to meditate at all? Because you wish to do so, you are told, Atma Samstham Manha Kritva, fixing the mind in the self. Why do you not remain as you are without meditating? What is this mana? Mind. When all thoughts are eliminated, it becomes Atma Samstha, fixed in the self. But when thoughts cross the mind and an effort is made to eliminate them, the effort is usually called meditation. Atmanishtha is your real nature. Remain as you are. This is the aim. This is in talk number 294 of Bhagwan. Meditation requires the dual process of the two processes. One is removing the mind from the world, and the other one is fixing it on God. Here Sri Krishna begins by describing the first process, taking the mind away from the world. thoughts of worldly things, people, events come to the mind when it's attached to the world. Initially, the thoughts are in the form of spurana, flashes of feelings and ideas. When we insist on the implementation of spurana, it becomes sankalpa. Thus, thoughts lead to sankalp, which is pursuit of these objects, and vikalp, revulsion from them, depending upon whether the attachment is positive or negative. The seed of pursuit and revulsion grows into the plant of desire. This should happen, this should not happen. Both sankalpa and vikalpa immediately create impressions in the mind like the film of a camera exposed to light. Thus, they directly impede the meditation upon God. They also have a natural tendency to flare up, and a desire that is seen today can become an inferno tomorrow. Thus, one who desires success in meditation should renounce the affinity for material objects. Determination of resolve that is in accordance with the scriptures is called dhriti. This determination comes with conviction of the intellect. Many people acquire academic knowledge of the scriptures about the nature of the self and the futility of worldly pursuits. But their daily life of variance with the knowledge, and they are seen indulge in sin and intoxication. This happens because their intellect is not convinced about that knowledge. The power of discrimination comes in with the conviction of the knowledge about the impermanence of the world and eternality of one's relationship with God. Thus, utilizing the intellect, one must gradually cease sensual indulgence. This is called pratyahara, or control of the mind and senses from running towards the objects of the senses. Success in pratyahara will not come immediately. It will be achieved through gradual and repeated exercise. Shri Krishna goes deeper into the topic of focusing attention on one thought. He says the meditator should use his intellect to withdraw the mind from the material thoughts in order to focus on the mind, on the one thought which I am the self. We all understand the hierarchy, that the mind is higher than the senses and the intellect is higher than the mind. What does it mean for the meditator? It means that even though the mind is hard to control, our intellect has the power to rein it in. In other words, the meditator should use the intellect to control the mind. The mind is what? The mind likes to be busy. It hops from one thought to another at lightning fast speeds. Once we withdraw the mind from the senses, the mind gets restless because it cannot run after sense objects. In order to keep it busy, it starts thinking about the past and the future. So therefore, Shri Krishna asks us to use our intellect to rein the mind. This withdrawal is called buddhi uparamat in the shloka. How does one do that? Let us take dieting, for example. Many of us are dieting because of various health reasons. Imagine that a doctor has asked us to go on a strict diet for 2 weeks. Our first step is to control the senses by not keeping any undesirable food in the house. When this happens, the mind will continuously think about food and tempt the body to do undesirable things. For example, go out of the house and get fatty food and so on. The mind becomes agitated and restless, which is a recipe for disaster. At this point, we must use the intellect that has been received the doctor's instruction to check the mind. We think, oh, I respect the doctor. Therefore, mind, stop contemplating undesirable food since it will have negative consequences for me. When we think that, we can control the mind's rush into food-related thoughts. Similarly, during meditation, we can withdraw the mind from the intellect. We need to have an intellect that has read and heard about the eternal essence. It understands that any thought other than I am the self does not have a place in meditation. Each time an unwanted thought comes, we should use the intellect to gently but firmly shift focus from that thought and put the mind back into the main thought that of I am the self, which Bhagavan says it is called self-inquiry. Sri Krishna says that this method should take weeks, months, or years. Therefore, he asked us to do it shanai shanai, or slowly, slowly, with great fortitude and patience. We should constantly meditate on the thought that I am the self. The emphasis is on the gradual nature of the practice. Physical growth from birth to adulthood takes years. It takes time to develop fine emotions. Intellectual development takes at least 16 years of schooling. Spiritual advancement also takes a while. It cannot happen overnight, so be patient. Yet, when you are totally prepared, enlightenment takes as much time as a needle takes to penetrate a rose petal. I'll read the last sentence again. Yet, when you are totally prepared, enlightenment takes as much time as a needle takes to penetrate a rose petal. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Jai Shri Krishna. May we all be always abiding in the self. Jai Shri Krishna. More Ramana. Doctor, are you there?
Namo Ramana.
Thank you, Doctor.
The next sharing is by Dr. Kalarani Rangaswamy. She is sharing with us Bhagavan's Atma Vichara Padalam Devi Kadottaram, the meditations on Devi Kadottaram.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. அருணாச்சலம் அகமே நினைப்பவர் அகத்தை வேறறுப்பாய் அருணாச்சல. Namo Ramana to all. With the grace of Bhagavan, we are meditating on Devi Kalotra Jnana Vichara Padalam. And in the last Satsangh, we saw that Parameshwaran assured Parvati that he will teach both the way to attain Jnana and the Acharya. Why Acharya? Acharya also we saw that makes the mind purified. And Parameshwaran asked her to listen to it with great attention. He said he is going to teach that which is being practiced by jnanis during their sadhanas without any flaw. Without any flaw. Shiva addressed Devi as Madarasi, means queen of all women. In the verse that we meditated in the last satsang, means she stands as an example for all women. Women learn from her how to behave, the humbleness, the kindness, the forgiveness, and one also learn the patience and perseverance. So she is called Madarasi by Parameshwar. In this song, Shiva addresses her as Nan Muhattoi, one beautiful one. You have such a beautiful face. When can the face be beautiful? When one is calm at heart, without any desire, with humbleness, with kindness at heart, and with ananda ever springing from inside, then the face will be beautiful. And not by applying cream and other cosmetics. So we can see when someone is angry that they need not even utter a word out of angry words. The face will easily show that, will display that. We can very well understand that someone is angry by his face itself. At that time, the face will not at all be beautiful, it is said. So Parvati Devi's face will always be beautiful because of the compassion that she has towards mankind. So Shiva calls her, "Oh beautiful one with beautiful face, Nanmugattoi. Ikkala Jnanattal, Nanmugattoi, Ikkala Jnanattal." This Kalotra Vidya Tattva Jnana is so great and easy to understand. Even by knowing this, if one does not realize the truth, Ikkala Jnanattal Yavarku Jnanandan Ullin Anugado. Even if this easy direct path, if it could not take one to the state of Jnana, Ikkala Jnanattal Yavarku Jnanandan Ullin Anugado, Annorku, for them, Vana Kanakilla Kodi Nool Katralum. Vana Kanakilla Kodi Nool Katralum. For them, even if the crores and crores of books are learned and sastras are meditated, then nothing is good is going to happen for them. Even in Acknowledgments, Noolarivilla Pedayendan Malari Varutharul Arunachala. One says, "Hey Arunachala, I don't have any bookish knowledge, Sastra Jnana. You please destroy my ego and save me from the clutches of this Maya." Bhagavan prays to Arunachala this on our behalf because of compassion and karuna. Because Sastra Jnana makes one a knowledgeable person. There is no doubt at all. But that itself will be an hindrance to attain moksha. Because the person will be well versed in Shastra, then he will be stuck there. He will be stuck there only and cannot take a step further ahead. Moreover, acquiring knowledge makes a man intellect. For realizing God, one has to forgo what all has been learned. That is what said, learn to unlearn. That is the state of complete surrender. After surrender, there is nothing that is mine. Even a thought that arises is not mine, but it is out of His grace, God's grace only. I'll tell you an incident in Mahabharata. Once, Sri Krishna and Arjuna was taking a walk in a beautiful garden with beautiful, colorful flowers. At that time, a bird was flying in the sky at a distance. Krishna said, "See Arjuna, a bird is flying there and I think that's a pigeon." Arjuna said, "Yes Krishna, that is a pigeon only." After a few seconds, Krishna said, "No Arjuna, I think it is an eagle and not a pigeon." Next second, without thinking, Arjuna said, yes Krishna, that is eagle only." After a few seconds, Krishna said, after looking at it very carefully, "Now I understand it is a parrot." Without taking any time, even a second, Arjuna said, yes. He confirmed, "Krishna, that is a parrot only." After some more time, Krishna said, Arjuna, what all I guessed earlier went wrong. Now I could clearly see that it is only a crow, smilingly, he said. Absolutely, Krishna, it is a crow only. There is no doubt about it, Arjuna said. What is this? You are accepting whatever I am saying. If I say it is an eagle, you say it is an eagle. If I say it is a crow, you say it is. Yes, it's a crow. Don't you have any thinking capacity for yourself? He pretended to be angry with Arjuna and said like this, and asked Arjuna like this. Arjuna said calmly, Krishna, I have belief in you much more than my eyes. If you say it is a eagle, parrot, crow, whatever you say, you have the capacity of changing that into what you have said. If it is actually a crow and if you say it is an eagle, you can easily change it into eagle. If it is, then I don't want to interfere in that. So I accept whatever you say, on which I can trust, on which I can trust other than the God's word. So Krishna, will you stop playing with me like this? So when one surrenders, then he should not think of anything that is happening. Let what all happen, let it go. No analysis in action is absolutely required. Do the karma as given as to us without any expectation, because expectation make a person sorrow. If the thing doesn't go as the way we expect, it becomes bad for us, because surrendered person must have such a belief that God is there to take care of his yoga and kshema. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Our next sharing is from Ujjwal Jagadish, who is meditating on Ganapati Muni's Ramanacentre.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Ramanena sanathamidam bhuvanam, Ramanena sanathamidam bhuvanam, Yatinaamadipena kushagralasan, Matinadritinashita chitta bhuva, Yatinaamadipena kushagralasan, Matinadritinashita chitta bhuva, Yatinayakanu kushagra chittanu, Chaladhi manava nashipanu chitta jananu, Yatinayakanu kushagra chittanu, Chaladhi manadhi nashipanu chitta jananu. Ganapati Muni sings of the glory of Ramana, and he says Ramana is the leader of yatis. He is the yati nayaka. He is the greatest among the yatis, the sages, and he is the one who has the intellect which is as sharp as the kusha grass, the tip of the kusha grass. His intellect, his mind is so sharp, and he is the one with determination has won over the kama, the chittaja, one who is born out of the mind. He has won over him and he has destroyed this kama. Talking of Ramana as the greatest of the yatis, we know the story of Ganapati Muni, who surrendered to Bhagavan Ramana and got the first spoken Upadesha from Ramana. And he realized that this young sage is not an ordinary human being. He is the sage among sages. So he should be called as Maharshi, Maharishi, the Yatinam, Adipena. He is the greatest one, greatest sage. He say, Ganapati Muni himself declared, and we see that the great seekers, they were drawn to Bhagavan Ramana and they accepted him as their leader. And this Ramana is the leader who has come to this world. Muruganar Swami says he is the one who has taken this vow that he is going to destroy the cycle of birth and death of all the devotees that who are following Ramana, who is the leader. And the devotees of Ramana have completely surrendered to him and they accept every word that Bhagavan says. The devotees of Ramana have accepted it as the command of the leader and they have hold on to his instructions and have found liberation and have crossed this ocean of samsara. And Ramana is also one who has a sharp intellect, which is compared to the tip of kusha grass. And there are so many instances where we can see the sharp intellect of Bhagavan Ramana. We see that when there was a huge stock of brinjal stalks which was left over in the kitchen of Ramanasramam and nobody knew what to do about it. And Bhagavan with his Kushagramati, he quickly got an idea that why don't we prepare a vegetable with these brinjal stalks. And he gave the instructions and the brinjal stalk was cooked in hot water for a long time. And later when the devotees reported the stalk is not getting baked, he told, why don't you add some salt to it? And salt was added to it and quickly the brinjal stalk baked very beautifully and the ingredients were added and a beautiful tasty vegetable was made and it was served to all the devotees. And the devotees, seeing the taste of this brinjal stalk vegetable, they were wondered which new vegetable is this. It tastes so wonderful and all the devotees relished it. And this was the Kushagramati. We see that while talking about critical thinking to the children, we were told that critical thinking is knowing what is right and what is wrong. Only a person who has the critical thinking can enjoy a joke, can give a reply with great humor. And Ramana was filled with great humor. Whenever he spoke, he's in the Sahasranama, he's expounded with the name. He's the one who Vyangya Vakya Prayogakaya Namaha, one who speaks humorously and one who speaks with great meaning which is embedded in it. Such the Kushagramati. When the devotees questioned Ramana, these wild animals, especially monkeys, they never let the human beings touch their young ones. But how is that the mother monkeys, they bring their little ones on their own accord and they hand it over to your hand to be petted by you? How is that possible? And Ramana told, maybe they think I am one of them. And such was the humor of Ramana when everybody smiled and laughed at this Kushagramati, which came up with this beautiful humor. And Bhagavan was a Kavinam Kavihi. A.S. Venugopal Rao in our national seminars, he has given a talk of how Bhagavan Ramana was a great poet. And a poet is the one who has the capability of telling the Veda Sara in short, in a phrase or in a shloka, and who Kushagramati is the one who can elaborate a simple verse into many pages of commentary. And Bhagavan Ramana is the one who has given the Veda Sara. There is an incident where Ganapati Muni, he explained the Arya meter to Bhagavan Ramana and he told, Bhagavan, can you please compose a Sanskrit song in this Arya meter? And to the surprise of Ganapati Muni, Bhagavan Ramana had written a beautiful song called Arunachala Pancharatnam in the Arya meter. And Ganapati Muni was surprised how that Bhagavan Ramana, who says that he does not have great knowledge in Sanskrit grammar and is able to create this beautiful work, which is so beautiful, so profound, yet so simple, and it actually is correctly, it fits to the Arya meter. Ganapati Muni was astonished by this Kushagramati which Ramana has. And we wonder how can Ramana has this Kushagramati? I remember a story which tells us about how the Kusha grass was found. This is one of the legends in our Puranas, in one of the folklores. We hear that when Sita Devi had finished her purpose of her avatara and she had to go back to Vaikunta, we all know the story that she prayed to her mother, "Oh Mother Earth, if I am pure, let the earth split into two and you accept me into your lap." So she prays to Mother Earth, and as soon as she prays, there is an earthquake and the earth splits apart and Sita is taken inside the lap of Mother Earth. At that time, one of the son, Kusha, Lava and Kusha, the twin children of Sita, Kusha runs to his mother who is going inside the earth, and he could not hold on to her. Only the hair of Sita Devi alone stays back, and that hair which stayed back on the surface of the earth became the Kusha grass. And this, when we relate this to the teaching of Bhagavan Ramana says the mother is the self, and he calls it Chinmayi. And if we are ever abiding in the lap of this Chinmayi, the mother, the self, at that time what is left? The mind, which is like the moon in the daylight, just like that, the mind is sharp as the Kusha grass, and such is the intellect of Bhagavan Ramana, the mind of Bhagavan Ramana, who is ever abiding in the self. Hence, we can see how glorious is his intellect, which has helped every one of us through all the work that he has given to us with his supreme grace. We remember Bhagavan Ramana and salute to him and bless us with that same abidance in the lap of the mother Chinmayi. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. So this self, this abounding, boundless grace, who is also the Chinmayi, the grace, the mother, who is the self, the consciousness, the power, who is the father, who is the self. This manifests as Ramana for us to get back to it. Bhagavan says in his Navamanimalai, Puvikkut Pongidum Purikkut Punniyan Churikkut Sundaran Satikkurpannanan. He says, "O Arunachala, in your grace, you made me come into this earth, become manifest in Tiruchuri." And in the namas of the Ashtottaram, we are now meditating on that name of Bhagavan, where Vishwanatha Swami calls him Bhuminathas Salottitaya Namaha. In the namas, in the names which he has given us earlier, Vishwanatha Swami has talked about who Bhagavan really is and why he has become manifest, the cause of the manifestation of the unmanifest. The unmanifest, which is also the divine Shakti. We can say it is the manifestation of the unmanifest self or the descent of the divine power, which is called Avatara. Whichever way we look at it, we see him as Akhanda Samvidakara, the one who is the undivided consciousness, or we see him as the Mahaujase Namaha, the great light, the immeasurable light, or we see him as Mahasena Mahumshaha, the complete power of Mahasena, Lord Subramanya, it is clear to us that he is the limitless one, the all-powerful one, the supreme one who has become manifest. And having pointed out this truth to us, Vishwanatha Swami then gave us clarity as to why he became manifest. It was to bring about the bliss, the goodness, the ultimate goodness for the entire universe. Jagat Hita, for the sake of Jagat Hita, Bhagavan became manifest. That is what Vishwanatha Swami then explained to us. Having explained this, he goes on to narrate the biography of Bhagavan, as it were. In that biography, he says, Bhagavan was born. When he was born, obviously he has to be born at a particular place. And that place is the Bhuminatha Sthala or Tiruchuri. Now, we also saw what Bhagavan has to say about that place called Tiruchuri. He says, Anbudayar Tammaham Ahalamalana Varadam Inbudayattam Idal Yenavendrum Yedichuriyal Tanbudai Ningadolir Paranjoti Tani Chivame Yenbudai Anbindu Ilahida Yendanirudayame. He is that Tanichivam, the Shiva who is alone, who is unique. Why? Because there is none other than him to be compared to him. There is none other than him for him to have any company. So he is the Tanichivam, says Bhagavan in his composition on Tiruchuri. Tanichivame, he is that Akhanda Samvidakara, he is that very Shiva, is Tiruchuri, says Bhagavan. Tiruchuri, the place itself is Shiva. The place itself is that undivided consciousness. The place itself is that unique, that one without a second, that Shiva, that auspiciousness, which is Shiva, that Tanichivame. What Tanichivam? Paranjoti Tanichivame. It is that light, that supreme light of consciousness, that supreme light which is auspicious, is Tiruchuri, says Bhagavan in his composition. The Trishulapura Purana tells us that in days of yore, the place, the Tiruchuri, was called Jyotirvanam or Punnaivanam. It was not called Tiruchuri. Why? Because there, one of the devotees of the Lord had a vision of Shiva as the all-enveloping light. Just as we hear the story of Arunachala manifesting as the all-enveloping light, as the huge pillar of light before the great gods, Vishnu and Brahma. Similarly, there was this vision of light in Tiruchuri, which was called Punnaivanam, and also it was called Jyotirvanam. And the Lord over there, at that time, he was called Bhuvaneshwara. He was called the Lord of the world. Bhuvaneshwara later became Bhuminatheshwara. He became the Lord of this earth. The Lord of the universe came to be known in Tiruchuri as Bhuminatheshwara. Why did this happen? The story goes that this devotee of Shiva, he was a king called Brihat Bala. And this Brihat Bala was a great and good king. But for some reason, he, without realizing, he committed the great sin of killing a Brahmana, which is called a Brahmahati dosha. So when he killed such a person, he was chased by his sin. He had to flee from his sins. And when he was fleeing and fleeing and fleeing from his sins, he fled across the earth, and ultimately he came without realizing it to this space called Churi. Now he came to that space, and even when he set foot in that place, his sins dropped away of their own accord. Therefore, it is said of Tiruchuri that if we step into Tiruchuri, our karma drops away from us. And then he became a great devotee of Shiva over there, that time called Bhuvaneshwara, and he was worshipping him. And suddenly, Brihatbala recognized that a great deluge has come, the pralaya has come, and it is enveloping the entire earth. And he prayed to Bhuvaneshwara to protect his people from this deluge. And Bhuvaneshwara was kind enough, compassionate enough to hear the plea of his devotee. He took his trident and pierced it into the earth, and into that spot all the waters of the deluge were sucked in like a whirlpool, just as when there is suddenly an opening, even in our small basins where we wash our face and our mouths. If we plug the hole and fill water, we used to show this as a small game to children about Tiruchuri. You want to understand how this whirlpool is formed. You see, if you fill water and then you unplug that hole, what will happen? All the waters will start going in a whirl. Similarly, the waters of the deluge were sucked into that hole made by Shiva's Trishula to protect Brihatbala. And the waters, when they went in, that holy sacred water pond, which was made by the touch of Shiva's Trishula, came to be known as Trishula Tirtham. And the Trishula Tirtham is equally capable of dissolving all the sense of sin that one may carry. That is how the story goes, that Shiva further manifests over there as Bhuminatheshwara, and Parvati. Parvati used to do worship of him, and when she was doing the worship of him from this Trishula Tirtha, they heard the cry of Bhumi, the Bhuma Devi. She came to them with a sense of being defiled by the touch of Hiranyaksha, who had carried away Bhuma Devi and kept her under the sea. She had been saved by Mahavishnu in the avatara of Varaha. And she says, though I was saved by Mahavishnu and brought out, I still feel a sense of defilement because of the touch of Hiranyaksha. Therefore, I seek refuge in you, O Lord. And Shiva asked her to bathe in the sacred waters of Trishula Tirtha, after which she feels completely purified. So also, because he saved Bhuma Devi, he gave her a sense of being awakened to purity again. Shiva is called Bhuminatheshwara over here. But the Tamil name for Bhuminatheshwara gives us a secret about the meaning of Bhuminatha. The Tamil name is Tirumeninathar. It means one of the sacred body, sacred form. And this takes our mind to the connection of what the word Bhumi means. The word Bhumi also refers to the human body. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna calls this the Kshetra or the Bhumi or the place. And Shiva is the Lord of this place. He is the Bhumi Natha. And the flood which arises is the flood of thoughts that keep coming up in our minds all the time, and they literally threaten to envelop us and drown us. And when Shiva takes up his sacred Trishula, the Trishula of self-inquiry, and pierces it in our Bhumi, which is the mind itself, which has taken the body form, when he pierces it, then the deluge is drawn into that. It gets into the heart source and becomes the sacred water of the Trishula Tirtham. And Shiva ever dances here. Anbudayartam aham mahalamal anavaradam inbudai attam vidal, says Bhagavan. Shiva is ever anavaradam, without a break. He is dancing blissfully in the hearts of all devotees. This Shiva is Tiruchuri. Inbudai Attamidal Yenavendrum Tiruchuriyal. This is Tiruchuri. He dances ever as I, in the hearts of those who have love for him. This is how Bhagavan manifests within every one of us. It is in order to manifest in this manner that he has manifested visibly as the Bhuminatha Ramana. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We now go on the chanting of verses from Arunachala Aksharamanmalai by Srimati Radha along with Vallabh.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Veeda viti thuna veeda pukka payavun, veeda katinayarul Arunachala. Vedi vittenun seyal veretidadun arul vedi vittennai Arunachala. Vedantatte verara vilangum veda porul Arunachala. Vaidalai vaata Vaitarukkudiya Vaitene vidadarul Arunachala. Anbu velali pol anburu vanilene anba karitarul Arunachala. Arunayan runnayan arukkanni patte unnarul valai tappumo Arunachala. Sindhe tarupada silandi pol katti shirayettundanai Arunachala. Anbodu namam kelanbar tammanbar kanbanayida arul Arunachala. En polum deenara inbura kaatuni ennaalum vaazharul Arunachala. Enburu kanbar tammin sokkol seviyum en ponmozhi kola arul Arunachala. Puramaya budara pun sollai nam solla purutharul ishtampin Arunachala. Malayani Arunachala Ramanayan Malayani Arunachala. Malayani Arunachala Ramanayan Malayani Arunachala. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, 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 Arunachala. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचलं வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமண மாலை வாழி.
Namo Ramana. We conclude today's satsang with the Ashtotra Puja offered to Bhagavan at Sri Subramaniam's altar. The first part of the Ashtotra Puja will be chanted by Vaibhavji and Prarthana, and the second half will be chanted by Savitri and Jai Shri Ram, and the Aarti song will be sung by Revathi Shankar. This we are celebrating from the end of January the Ramananjali 40 plus, along with a seminar based on that theme, which is the 44th National Seminar. And we are having every Monday, we have talks on the theme of Ramananjali, talks as well as sharings by devotees, senior devotees on the theme of turning to Bhagavan through poetry and music. And every Wednesday, we are offering a cultural program. And every Friday, we are tracing the story of Ramananjali, the history of Ramananjali. This is happening online, and it is happening on our YouTube channel, Ramanacentre Bengaluru. Please do log in every Monday, 6:15 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the anubhava of the story and the experience of the music, the songs of Bhagavan and on Bhagavan by various poet saints. This is the ongoing festival. If you wish to get information about it, you can subscribe to the channel and you will be receiving the intimations about the exact programs which are happening. We now conclude today's satsang with the Ashtotra Puja and the Arati.
Namo Ramana. Bharatwaja Vishwanath Ashtotra Shatanamavalihi Apara Satchit Sukhavari Rashe Yasyomi Matram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chinta Vihinam Rita Chintayami Om Mahasena Mahom Shena Jataya Namaha Om Sri Ramanaya Namaha Om Gurave Namaha Om Akhanda Samvidakaraya Namaha Om Mahaujase Namaha Om Karanodbhavaya Namaha Om Jagadvitavatārāya Namaha Om Sri Bhuminathasthalosthitaya Namaha Om Parasharakulottamsaya Namaha Om Sundarāryatapafalaya Namaha Om Kamaniya Sucharitraya Namaha Om Sahayamba Sahayavate Namaha Om Shonachalamaholina Manasaya Namaha Om Swarnahastakaya Namaha Om Srimadvadashantamahastale Laptavidyodayaya Namaha Om Mahashakti Nipatena Prabhuddhaya Namaha Om Paramarthavide Namaha Om Tivraya Namaha Om Pitrupadanveshine Namaha Om Indumaulina Pitrumate Namaha Om Pituradeshata Shonashailam Praptaya Namaha Om तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासितस्विहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजतचलाकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पूर्णाय नमः ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः ॐ गम्भीराय नमः ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः ॐ धीराय नमः ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः ॐ स्वराजे नमः ॐ महर्षये नमः ॐ भगवते नमः ॐ ईड्याय नमः
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः ॐ विमलाय नमः ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः ॐ आप्ताय नमः ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः ॐ समदृशे नमः ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः ॐ सत्याय नमः ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः ॐ श्री शोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः ॐ सौम्याय नमः ॐ आत्मवते नमः ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः ॐ महाभागाय नमः ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः ॐ विनताय नमः ॐ विनुताय नमः ॐ विप्राय नमः ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः ॐ हृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्ट्रे नमः ॐ भार्गविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः ॐ गुहाय नमः ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः ॐ देवतमाय नमः ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः ॐ सेनान्ये नमः ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
ॐ श्री रमण भगवते नमः। श्री रमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्ताणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यथ दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रभावविवशस्थादात्म्यभावं गतः रन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसां लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नव इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे।
नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾ ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ महर्षि नमो महर्षि नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि। बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
नमो रमण everyone.